My name is Emily, and if there's one thing I've learned about being a mother, it's that life often throws you into moments you never expect. Moments that test your heart, your patience, and your understanding. I was 39 years old when the night I'm about to tell you about happened, and it changed the way I saw myself as a parent, as a person, and as a woman trying to hold everything together. It was one of those evenings where exhaustion seeped into my bones. I had worked a long day at the clinic where I was a receptionist, answering calls, managing patients' files, and juggling endless tasks. By the time I came home, made dinner, checked on homework, and put away the dishes, all I wanted was rest. My son, Jacob, who had just turned 14, was unusually quiet that evening. I asked him if everything was okay, but he brushed it off with a half smile and a soft, "I'm fine, Mom." I didn't push further, partly because I was too tired, partly because I assumed he just had a typical teenage mood swing. But what I didn't realize was that behind that quiet expression, something deeper was weighing on him. By the time I slipped into my pajamas and crawled into bed, the clock read 11:30. My body sank into the mattress like I hadn't slept in years, and soon I was drifting into a deep, dream-heavy slumber. Sometime in the night, though, I stirred. At first, I thought it was a sound from outside, a car door, or maybe the wind rattling the fence. But when I blinked my eyes open, the faint light from the hallway stretched across my room, and there, standing quietly at the doorway, was Jacob. He wasn't making a sound. He wasn't moving either. He just stood there like a shadow, his shoulders hunched, his expression unreadable. My heart skipped. A part of me was startled, but more than anything, I felt concerned. "Jacob," I whispered, my voice thick from sleep. "What's wrong, honey?" Slowly, he walked closer. He didn't say anything at first. He just climbed onto the edge of my bed, sitting there with his head bowed, his hands clasped tightly together. I reached out, brushing the hair from his forehead. "Talk to me," I said softly. "What happened?" And then, the words spilled out of him in broken pieces. He told me he had been having nightmares for weeks, dark, confusing dreams that left him breathless and unsettled. But it wasn't just that. He admitted that he had been feeling alone, even in a house full of people, even with me constantly around. "I don't know why," he said, his voice trembling, "but I feel like no one really understands me anymore. Not my friends, not even you sometimes, Mom." Those words cut deep. Not because they were meant to hurt, but because I realized he was right. I had been so busy keeping everything running, work, bills, dinner, laundry, that I hadn't sat down with him the way I used to. I hadn't really listened. And now here he was in the middle of the night, drawn to my room because he didn't know where else to turn. I pulled him into my arms. He resisted for a second, embarrassed, but then I felt him melt into me the way he used to when he was a little boy. I stroked his back and whispered, "You're never alone, Jacob. Not as long as I'm here." That night turned into hours of conversation. He told me about the pressure he felt at school, how he struggled to fit in, how he feared disappointing me, and how sometimes he didn't even recognize himself in the mirror. Listening to him was like hearing the pieces of his heart fall onto the floor one by one. I held every piece. And as dawn broke, with the sky painted in shades of orange and pink, I promised him something. I promised to make more time for us, to really listen, to put aside the endless to-do lists that often made me forget what mattered most. The following weeks weren't perfect, no family ever is, but they were different. We started having late-night talks over hot chocolate. We went for walks after dinner. We laughed more. And most importantly, Jacob began to open up before things weighed him down too much. That night when he came into my room while I was sleeping could have been brushed aside as a strange, passing moment. But instead, it became a turning point. It reminded me that children, no matter their age, always need a safe place to land. And sometimes, even mothers need to be reminded that love isn't just about providing, it's about being present. Years later, I still look back on that night with tears in my eyes. It wasn't dramatic in the sense of a movie scene, but it was powerful in the way it shifted my heart. It reminded me that motherhood isn't about being perfect, it's about being there. And in the end, that's all Jacob really needed.